Hi.
Say hi, Brenda.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, it's Lisa, and welcome to Thriving Thursdays. We are so excited to be here with you and to share with you a little bit about what we've been creating. Aren't you excited, Brenda?
I'm excited, yes.
Okay.
Very cool.
So let's see. Let me just start just for a brief moment, sharing a little bit about myself, and then Brenda can share a little bit about herself, which will give you a sense of how we ended up here. So my name is Lisa. I'm a therapist, and I'm also a yoga therapist practitioner. And one of the reasons I ended up in this field is just, I always remember Brenda and I have a similar part actually to our story here. As a kid growing up, like every time something happened, whether it was inflammation in my joints or autoimmune issues, I would have autoimmune issues come up. Every time I would go to the doctor, immediately they would want to put me on medication, which is understandable. But some of these medications were like lifelong commitments. And actually what I chose to do, it just never felt right to jump on that bandwagon. I chose to make lifestyle changes. I really didn't even know. It was just something didn't feel in resonance for me to start popping pills. Also, they wanted to put me on antidepressants as a teenager, you know. Of course, all teenagers are going to go through a lot of different spaces and places and evolving, right? So anyway, long story short, Brenda and I are both passionate about exploring other possibilities and ways to tend to symptomology as it arises and see if there's other more holistic approaches that can help us resolve those things that might show up. And so for me personally, as a therapist and as a yoga therapist, I like to integrate the two so that when I'm working with somebody, it's really like a whole person and whole being approach. And I currently work a lot with stress, trauma. I also do EMDR. So there's a lot in this basket. And if you're interested, you can always direct message me for more information on what's in there. How about you, Brenda?
Okay. Hi, my name is Brenda, and I am also a yoga therapy practitioner. I got into doing this also as a young child. I was never really sick, but I always, for some reason, I don't know what it was, I was just into this natural healing. I bought a book when I was 16, and that's what I wanted to do with my life, and then life happened and it took me a different direction. I became a school teacher, so I knew I always wanted to teach and help others. And then I finally just went to my first yoga class, I don't know, over 20 years ago probably. Fell in love with it, and then life happened again, you know, having children and not enough time or the money, and yeah, so I just got back into it heavily probably about 6 years ago. Dove right in. I am in recovery myself, and that really was a good addition to my recovery program. So I now teach yoga therapy in drug and alcohol rehabilitation centers, and I was teaching with Lisa at YNG for a few years, and now I'm at the Soul of Yoga down in Encinitas, teaching online classes, one online class, and it's Yoga for Recovery. So if you're interested in that, check that out on the Soul of Yoga in Encinitas. It's amazing. And that's where we are going to school to be our yoga therapists.
Yeah, so the Soul of Yoga is this amazing institution. I don't know if institution's right. Like,
School.
where did school place for evolution, really. And it's in Encinitas, this very magical place in Southern California if you've never been there. And I remember Brenda's been on her yoga path for a long time. And how I met Brenda is she was actually a student of mine in yoga sculpt classes, and which is very different than yoga therapy. And I just kept kind of pushing her because I knew she was doing all these different trainings, and I was like, you need to do this yoga therapy thing. It was almost like pressury.
It was, and I really wanted to do it. Like I felt it inside, like, that is my passion. That's what I want to do. But I was super scared.
Yeah.
And it was overwhelming. And can I do all this stuff? And the money. And, oh my gosh, school again. I already went to college for freaking 5 years. Am I going to do this again? And here I am. I love it. I'm so happy I joined.
And oh my gosh, like the work that she's doing in the realm of addiction and recovery is like really needed and super amazing. So thank you, and thanks for being my partner in all this. We did a little prep work because we wanted to like make sure that we don't leave anything out. We want to give you a sense today, a sense of like what yoga therapy is, and actually not just today. The art of thriving really is through this lens, these different lenses that we're going to discuss today, that really can support us in our healing processes and in our lives. And so today what we're going to specifically do is talk a little bit about more, what is yoga therapy? Like when you hear that, what actually is that? And also, what are the 5 layers, so to speak, that we look through as yoga therapists and as we will be looking through, right, in our Thriving Thursdays with you. Anything you want to say about that? No. Okay, not at all.
Lisa's got it covered here.
So that's
Thank
our
goodness.
intention, right?
Yes.
And we're just curious if you want to take a moment to just think about your intention. I mean, it's not like we're here all day. Hi, Deb. But just for this next, 10 minutes or so, what is your intention in being here today? So the art of Thriving Thursdays and our kind of like encompassing of what that is really the mastering of the art of thriving. It's going to be every other Thursday. So our next one will be
February 4th, and it's going to be about 15 to 20 minutes each time.
Yeah. And we'll just be going over, we're going to actually go over with you today what that will like entail and what encompasses. So think about it like a journey of the body. So we are going to take an anatomical dive through the different areas that encompass our entire body. And then as we go into each one of these areas, we're going to slowly peel away different lenses that in yoga we call them the koshas. And we're going to talk about those today, so you'll have a good sense of what those are. And then we're going to really look at how can we meet these different symptoms or sensations that are coming forward that are associated with different parts of our anatomy, and really see if we can deepen our own self-healing. Anything else you want to add about that?
Let's go into... So yeah, every Thursday at 1:11.
Yeah, so hold on, because I forgot one thing. So every month, we're going to focus on a specific area, right? And the first time we get together, we'll be discussing more of the anatomy, some of the challenges maybe people might experience in that area in the body, whether that's physically, mentally, or emotionally. And then on the second part of that month, what are we going to do on the second part of that month?
We are going to show you practices like asana poses, and other tips and remedies to help heal that part of your body. Give you some resources and just our intuitive thoughts and what you can do for yourself at home.
Perfect.
On maybe a daily basis.
Yeah.
But at least you'll have a little thought of thinking into your body of how you can heal yourself.
Beautiful. So we hope you join us on this ride, and we're going to be doing this every other Thursday. So the first time we meet, like in February on the 4th, we're going to be talking about a healthy spine. We're going to be diving into the spine. What does that really mean? How do we define that in different ways? Just like we'll define yoga therapy and give you some different ways that it's defined in the collective today. And then that next one in February, we'll really dive into what are some things one could do to really support a healthy spine, especially if they're dealing with some of the things that are commonly dealt with when it comes to the spine. And then the other thing we wanted to just let you know is that every time we do these, we're going to record them, we're going to post them, and then I'm also going to put them on my YouTube channel. So if you miss it, like if you're like, oh my gosh, I really wanted to do the spine thing, and I missed the second piece, which was like critical. I needed all the remedies and I didn't get them. You can go onto YouTube or you can go onto my Instagram page and you can find the recording right there. And my YouTube, just type in Lisa, last name Saremi, and Limitless, the letter U, and you should be able to find it. Okay, with all of that said, what is the best way people can show up to these Thriving Thursdays, Brenda?
The best way you can show up is be here live at 1:11 every Thursday.
Yeah. Every other Thursday.
Every other Thursday, yeah. And just have an open mind. Maybe bring a journal, some note paper to take notes. And open ears. I don't know what else.
Yeah, and I love that. And like really curious, like I would say almost like notice if the critic or the judge shows up with you, because sometimes we might be tending to parts of the body that have like a story or an injury, and we can get kind of hard on ourselves, right? So part of what we want to practice is really having that compassion and that grace when we come in, and that curiosity of really what is the body trying to communicate to us. Yeah. Okay. And last but not least, as in with all things, you always get out what you put in, right? So you fully show up, you show up ready to contribute and participate, and you're going to get way more out of it than you would if you wouldn't, if you're like multitasking, right? So with that said,
or maybe find a friend too.
Oh my gosh, that's a great idea.
Or a group of friends, and you guys can be in this together.
Totally.
Accountability.
Right. Because I'm just thinking, like, if you've got, for example, we're going to be getting into the spine next month, and maybe you know somebody that is, okay, we all know somebody that's got this thing going on. The forward head carriage, right? I was just talking about it in the live when I was with Nicole yesterday, and we were talking about how, we're talking about actually the wounded masculine, but we were talking about how what that energy is, and how it's this like going, achieving, and doing. And I was like, oh my gosh, thinking about our yoga therapy and thinking about that forward head carriage, because we're all just trying to get to that next place, and we're all in a hurry, right? So really interesting stuff when it all integrates together. So speaking of, shall we dive?
We're diving in.
Where are we going? Where are we diving into?
Diving into the koshas.
The koshas. What the heck is a kosha?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
It goes deep. But we're just going to go on the surface layer today. So koshas.
Beach you sculpts. The one thing I wanted to say, because we talked about this before when we were planning for you, I wanted to say that, you know, when we get into anatomy, and even in yoga, right, there can be a lot of words like kosha, for example, that really like can almost distract from taking away the nuggets of value, you know? So one of our goals is to try to simplify and make the information as digestible as possible so that you really walk away with something valuable.
Right.
Okay.
Make it a lot easier to understand. Okay, so we have 5 koshas in our body. Well, not in our body. They're layers of our body. So the first layer is our physical body. Obviously, here we are right here, our physical outline of our body. That's the Annamaya kosha. We're going to test you at the end.
Annamaya.
Annamaya.
Tomato.
Yeah. So just think of that as the physical body. So that's like our first layer, and then our layers go outward.
Yeah.
The second one is emotions, our feelings, sensations. And that is the Manamaya kosha. And I like to think of that, to remember that as like the mind, kind of. And our third one is thoughts, dreams, and beliefs. And Lisa, how do we pronounce this? Vijnanamaya kosha.
Vijnanamaya kosha.
That's our thoughts, dreams, and beliefs. So that's the next layer. So all these little subtle layers that keep growing out from us. It's not just, we don't deal with just our physical body and our physical pain. There's other layers of our body that are going to relate to maybe the physical pain we may feel.
Yes. So, sorry.
Good.
She wasn't done.
Number 4. Our fourth one is the Pranamaya kosha. Pranamaya. So that's our chakras, nadis, our vayus, and our breath. Breath is huge.
And if you don't know what the chakras, nadis, and vayus are, then you'll want to come back next Thursday.
Keep you wanting more. The last one, number 5, is our Anandamaya kosha, and that's our bliss body, like our spiritual body. So that's the koshas at a very basic level. We'll get deeper into those each week and go from there.
Yes. And so the other thing that we really felt was important, especially because we're yoga therapy practitioners, of course we thought it was important. But what I find is that, like, when the word yoga therapy is used, people really actually don't know what the heck that is. So we hope that through some of this, you'll not only have a better sense experientially, but from today, we wanted to just share a little bit about what yoga therapy is. And shall we start with kind of how we defined it, how we felt that it sets itself, or let's do with the soul.
The
soul of yoga. Let's go into their definition.
Okay. So the soul of yoga's definition, our school that we go to down in Encinitas, I'm just going to read it for you. We are all divine beings having a human experience. So what sets yoga therapists apart from other health practitioners is that we see a whole and perfect being who has the power to heal themselves. So we're not healing you. You're healing yourself. It is our job to give you the tools you need to remove the obstacles in the way of your own healing powers. Yoga returns us to an original state of peace, freedom, and well-being, and allows our body's exquisite healing mechanisms to work optimally. And then it goes into Western medicine puts their focus on illness and balance. So for me, that's, they give you a pill to fix your problem, but it's not really getting to the root of the problem. It's more of a Band-Aid being put on. That's for me, my definition. But yoga therapy, we focus on the wellness and balance, and we work with what that is working. So our bodies are always working. We're not always not working. There might be some malfunctions, but one part of our body is always working. And so we start with that. We focus on enhancing the prana flow, and we believe that prana is our own innate healing ability. Prana flow is the key to health. Balance is the key to health. So if we're still alive and we're able to breathe, prana is flowing. And guess what? Air is free. It is free. So we can heal ourselves freely.
And prana is that life force energy. It's how whether we're looking at a plant or a person, right? Or anything that has prana, you can tell it's alive. It's breathing. And when it doesn't, you can tell.
Yeah.
It's not, right? So that was, did you finish the whole soul of yoga?
I mean, there's a lot more, but...
No, keep going. It's long. Go.
It's long.
Finish.
Okay, so in yoga therapy, we know that the mind, body, and spirit are intimately connected. We use a variety of lenses to determine our clients' strengths and obstacles, so that our plan of care helps them support themselves to optimize their prana flow and help them heal. Yoga therapy is an intuitive science, not an allopathic science. There is not a prescribed pose, sequence, or practice that will work for everyone all the time. That is why we use many different lenses. So here we go. Our chakras, the nadis, vayus, koshas, gunas, doshas, and many other tools, including our asana, our physical practice, pranayama, breath, the philosophy of yoga, yoga nidra, meditation, and yes, lifestyle shifts. We do have to sometimes change our lifestyle so you can discover your healing power.
Yeah, because really what makes the biggest change is always those little subtle things that we do consistently and, over time. So that was the soul of yoga. So I think what we really discovered is as we were trying to discern how do we authentically define this thing called yoga therapy is that, that was a huge paragraph to try to explain something. And then there's other ways that we want to share with you just because it's kind of being worked through, I feel, right? It's being worked through. So the International Association of Yoga Therapists, this is their short version, okay? Yoga therapy is the process of empowering individuals to progress towards health and well-being through the application and teachings of yoga practices. So that was the International Association of Yoga Therapy. Now, we have 3 more. So we've got a definition by TKV Jessica Char. And it says, and he was just like one of the fathers down the lineages, the ancient lineages. We're trying to keep it simple. We're not doing a history lesson here. Just know that this man's got some knowledge, okay?
Yes.
Yoga therapy is a self-empowering process where the care seeker, with the help of the yoga therapist, implements a personalized, evolving yoga practice that not only addresses the illness in a multi-dimensional manner, but also aims to alleviate their suffering in a progressive, non-invasive, and complementary manner. So depending on the nature of the illness, yoga therapy can not only be preventative or curative, but also serve as a means to manage the illness or to facilitate healing in the person on all levels. Whew. That's another biggie. Gary Kraftsaw has kind of a shorter one. Gary Kraftsaw. Kraftsaw. Am I saying it right? I can't even talk.
Kraftsaw.
These all come from like a Vinny Yoga lineage. I thought that was interesting that we unconsciously picked all from the same lineage. But so he says yoga therapy derived from the yoga tradition of Patanjali and the Ayurvedic system of healthcare refers to the adaptation and application of yoga techniques and practices to help individuals facing health challenges at any level manage their condition, reducing symptoms, restoring balance, increasing vitality, and improving attitude. This last one's big too, but this one's from one of our teachers.
Oh.
I'll have you do this one.
This one's from Richard Miller. We love Richard Miller.
We love Iris.
We love you, Richard. Okay. And Richard says, yoga therapy may be defined as the application of yogic principles to a particular person with the objective of achieving a particular spiritual, psychological, or physiological goal. The means employed are comprised of intelligently conceived steps that include, but are not limited to, the components of Ashtanga yoga, which includes the educational teachings of Yama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, and Dhyana, and Samadhi. Also included are the application of meditation, textual study, spiritual or psychological counseling, chanting, imagery, prayer, and ritual to meet the needs of the individual. Yoga therapist respects individual differences in age, culture, religion, philosophy, occupation, and mental and physical health. The knowledgeable and competent yogin or yogini applies yoga therapy according to the period, the place, and the practitioner's age, strength, and activities. So,
Whew.
another long one.
I always like to simplify things.
Yeah, it's too much for me.
You know, it's all, and I understand why they might, because it is hard to define, but I really feel like on a very high level, like, it's the approach, you know, like when we're working with people, we're working with people at all levels. And also in many cases, I mean, part of why I got into psychotherapy, right, is because there's a difference between psychotherapy and yoga therapy.
Yes.
And at the point where a yoga therapist may refer out somebody and say, you know what, a therapist might be a better option to tend to this part of your life. Or maybe you never need to go to the therapist, because one of the things I learned, and I think we talked about it earlier too, is just whoever you're going to, the lens that they're looking through, it's like you can't go to a meat market and expect that they're going to give you fish. It's just not going to happen, you know? And you can't expect to go to a doctor and not have them work with the lenses that they have, which are prescription and diagnosis, you know? So it's important to really like consider that when you're going in to try to heal something within yourself, whether it's physical, mental, emotional.
There's just so many different layers that we need to look through. There's just not one fits all.
Right. Or we would all
be there.
So we are I'm so excited to do this. Can we be like authentic about part of
Sure, I guess
why? So. Okay. So part of why we're doing this, outside of the fact that this is what we do. We actually do this professionally, right, with people. But is we really want to like deepen the embodiment of a lot of this knowledge. And it feels like you can only do so much unless you do get on a plane and go over to the other part of the world and literally like live that way that they live.
I did it for a month. It was amazing.
Yeah, and it's just
only
not. So we figure by being here with you, learning from you guys, and then finding out, you know, really like what you want to learn about, what are some of the stuff that you guys are dealing with, and how we can support you.
Yeah, so if you have questions, you can please feel free to write in the comments below, and we can answer any questions for you. We do have like a set up plan every week. We're going to be focusing on different part of our body, but we can always change it up and, you know, meet your needs. We're not rigid.
We're not rigid.
We're,
we flow like water.
We're so free.
All right, cool, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And we look forward to the next time.
Yes, we do.